Admiral Zexathara's mandibles clicked in amusement as the primitive human vessel appeared on his flagship's view screen. The Terran Dawn looked like exactly what it was, a cobbled-together collection of salvaged parts, jury-rigged components, and what the humans quaintly called creative engineering. Against the backdrop of the Calaxian Empire's pristine fleet of obsidian warships, each one a masterpiece of architectural warfare, the human craft appeared almost insulting in its ugliness. "This is what Earth sends to challenge the might of the Empire?" Zexathara's second-in-command, Commander Hylex, chittered with barely contained laughter. Their entire species must be suffering from collective delusion. The human ship limped forward, its mismatched engines sputtering and leaving an embarrassing trail of vapor. Hull plates of different colors and compositions created a patchwork exterior that hurt to look at. Several sections appeared to be held together with what Imperial scanners identified as industrial adhesive compounds, essentially space-age duct tape. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Terran Dawn, watching the Imperial fleet through her viewport with grim determination. Around her, the crew worked at stations that looked like they'd been assembled from a dozen different starship graveyards. Which, in fact, they had been. The entire ship was humanity's answer to the Empire's ultimatum: surrender or face annihilation. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez called from his jury-rigged tactical station, "Imperial flagship is hailing us." "Put them through," Chen replied, straightening her uniform, a standard Earth Navy outfit that looked positively primitive compared to the flowing biosuits of the Calaxians. Admiral Zexathara's image materialized on the main screen, his insectoid features twisted in what passed for a sneer among his species. "Human Captain, I am Admiral Zexathara of the Calaxian Imperial Navy. Your pathetic world has 30 standard minutes to surrender unconditionally, or we will demonstrate why your species should have accepted our generous offer of servitude." Chen smiled, a predatory expression that didn't reach her eyes. "Admiral, I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. I'm afraid I'll have to decline your offer." "You cannot be serious," Zexathara replied, his compound eyes glittering with disbelief. "Your single vessel, if it can even be called that, against the pride of the Imperial fleet? This is madness even by primitive standards." "Maybe," Chen said, her smile widening, "but we humans have always been a little crazy. Why else would we strap ourselves to controlled explosions just to leave our home planet?" The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Chen turned to her crew, men and women who had volunteered for what everyone assumed was a suicide mission. "All stations report readiness. Weapons online," Rodriguez confirmed. "All jury-rigged torpedo tubes loaded with our special packages." "Engineering standing by," called Chief Nakamura from below decks. "The garbage disposal system is ready for activation. Sensors are tracking all Imperial vessels," reported Communications Officer Park. 47 ships total, all maintaining standard formation, Chen nodded. The Empire's arrogance would be their downfall. Their ships were beautiful, efficient, and followed doctrine to the letter. Humanity's ship was ugly, improvised, and completely unpredictable. Sometimes ugly won. "Admiral Zexathara probably thinks we're going to ram his flagship," Chen mused aloud. "Standard desperate human tactic, right?" "Yes, ma'am," Rodriguez replied. "But we're not standard humans." The Imperial fleet began moving into attack formation, their weapon systems charging with the practiced efficiency of a species that had conquered half the galaxy. The Terran Dawn appeared to limp forward, its system seemingly failing under the stress of combat preparation. What the Calaxians couldn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, ever since the Empire first made contact and delivered their ultimatum. Every piece of apparent junk on the Terran Dawn served a purpose. Every seeming system failure was carefully orchestrated theater. "Now," Chen whispered. The first surprise came when the Terran Dawn's hull began separating. What appeared to be structural failure was actually the deployment of hundreds of hidden weapon pods, each one camouflaged to look like random hull debris. The second surprise came when those pods began broadcasting targeting data to weapons platforms that had been secretly deployed throughout the system over the past 2 years. The third surprise was when Earth's actual defense fleet decloaked. 73 human warships materialized around the Imperial formation, each one as ugly and improvised as the Terran Dawn, but armed with weapons technology reverse-engineered from decades of studying crashed Imperial scouts. The Empire's scouts had been crashing on remote worlds for years. The Calaxians had simply never bothered to investigate what happened to the wreckage. "What is this?" Admiral Zexathera screamed over the communications channel as his perfect formation found itself surrounded. "This," Captain Chen replied, "is why you should never underestimate a species that turned scrap metal into spaceships." The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. The Imperial fleet, for all their technological superiority, had never faced an enemy that fought with humanity's particular brand of creative destruction. Human weapons were unpredictable, jury-rigged for maximum damage rather than elegant efficiency. Human tactics were chaotic, refusing to follow any recognizable pattern. Most importantly, human ships were designed to be expendable. When a Calaxian vessel was damaged, it withdrew to preserve the masterwork of engineering. When a human ship was damaged, it rammed the nearest Imperial vessel and detonated its reactor. By the end, 47 Imperial warships had been reduced to expanding clouds of superheated gas and debris. The Terran Dawn still floated in space, battered but victorious, surrounded by the remnants of Earth's improvised fleet. Captain Chen stood in the sudden quiet of her bridge, looking out at the wreckage of what had been the Empire's most prestigious battle group. "Communications, open a channel to Earth Command," she ordered. "Channel open, Captain." "Command, this is Captain Chen, package delivered." "The Empire's fleet has been recycled." As she spoke, the Terran Dawn's hull began reassembling itself, drawing in the scattered weapon pods with magnetic tethers. Even in victory, humanity's instinct was to salvage what could be salvaged. In the depths of space, the message would soon spread throughout the galaxy. The species that built starships from scrap had just turned the Empire's finest fleet into ash. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, other Imperial admirals began to recalculate the wisdom of challenging a race that treated the impossible as merely improbable. The age of human expansion had begun, one piece of salvaged technology at a time.